Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I am your host, the hero of Kvatch, Del Mus, and I have with me the Switch L Double Taylor Field. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. It's been a hot minute since my last cameo appearance on SideQuest.
Yeah, cameo appearance? Is it ever a cameo or are you just like a cameo would be like you appear in the background or you're in there for like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah. Wrong word. Wrong word.
But yeah, it has been a while because since the Switch 2 has been shown off, you have not been here. So we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about the Shadow Drop, which was the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. So all very exciting stuff. You can also check out our weekly Geek Me and You just did. That was our warm-up before getting into this. You can go to our Patreon to get episodes early and ad-free, all that good stuff. I think we're just going to hop right into it. You know what, Taylor, this is a good week for your boy because two of my top 10 all-time favorite games got re-released this week. Of course, Oblivion's the big juicy one, but I also want to quickly shout out that on Nintendo Switch Online, the Game Boy Advance app, they released Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones on there this week, which is my favorite Fire Emblem game. You know, it's one of my top 10 all-time favorite games, a game I've revisited a million times. So for anyone who has not played Fire Emblem or that game in particular, go check it out. It's great. It holds up. It's super unique. It was also like I think the first tactics game I ever played back in the day too. So if you're like not big on the genre, like maybe it's a good one to jump into there as well. So, the fact that they released that on Nintendo Switch Online and then also Oblivion onto Game Pass, like just two of my favorite games getting re-released and then like just onto subscription services that I'm already part of, like hell yeah. I'm doing very good this week. I don't know if I'm gonna play Sacred Stones right now because it's busy with a million other games, but next time I'm like on the move with my Switch, I'll definitely be booting up probably my 18th playthrough of Sacred Stones, so go check that out. But of course, the big, juicy, spicy one is the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, which has been heavily rumored for months and months and months. I feel like the rumors really, really picked up around the time of the Xbox Developer Direct, which happens every January, because there was talks of like, oh, there's a mystery game, an unannounced game that's going to appear in this. Ended up being Ninja Gaiden, but people were saying maybe it was the Oblivion Remaster, which has been talked about to that point. It didn't happen, and then I feel like every month since then has been like, this month is going to be the Oblivion Remaster. It's going to shadow drop. Oh, we're going to get information on this. It's coming. It's coming. And it just like wasn't it to the point where it's like I believe that this exists, but I'm also trying to let my heart get in on this and believe this, and then it not be true, and then me be disappointed because I love this game so very much. But finally this week, it got announced and shadow dropped in the same kind of announcement. They did like a 20-minute trailer essentially breaking down what the game is, talking about what's different, what's new about it, and then they dropped it same day. 120 gigabytes of juice in there, so it took me like a full 24 hours to download it because my internet is garbage. Then finally I have jumped in and played it, so we're going to talk about some of that. And did you get a few hours at least with this remaster?
Oh yes,
Good stuff. So remind me here, because obviously me, Kirkland, all big like Skyrim fans as well, and I feel like you and Kirkland talk a lot about Skyrim, and I know you're an Oblivion fan as well, but like, where do you compare that? Like, are you a bigger Skyrim fan than Oblivion? Have you put like tens of hours in Oblivion, hundreds of hours? Like, where's your Oblivion? Did you play it back in the day? Did you play it more recently? I feel like you need to remind me on your Oblivion fandom here.
I would say, like my Oblivion fandom that stems when I was very young, a young teenager. Okay. I remember going over to my friend's house, and he always had like the latest and greatest stuff. I remember going to his house and he's playing Xbox, like, oh, look at this game. This is Assassin's Creed. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. Played with him all throughout Christmas Eve. That was wonderful. Another day I went over to his house. He's like, check this out. This is Oblivion Elder Scrolls. Like, oh my God, this game is awesome. And so it was not long before after that, I ended up buying it for PC. It was a Game of Year edition. I still have it actually in one of my shelves, my totes, but got that for PC. That came with Knights of the Nine, the Shivering Isles expansion, and just, I played the living daylights out of that game. I remember completing the main storyline. What an ending that game has. And in terms of just like game intros, is probably like top 3 for me for just epic because that score kicks in. You're spinning
Yeah.
around the Imperial City, and you just get like it ends off that narration from like the Emperor, and it's like holy shit, like I'm in it. I am in Tamriel. We're going to Cyrodiil. Let's fucking go. It's so good, and yeah, just that Oblivion just has a very special place in my heart with between the music and just the storylines and just the Dark Brotherhood. I've always favored
Yeah.
the Dark Brotherhood storyline more in Oblivion than over Skyrim's version of it. Uh,
Hmm.
that being said, I've sunk a lot of time into Skyrim too as I got older
Yeah.
and I played Skyrim. I really, really enjoyed that and put a lot more time into it, but it just did not feel the same as Oblivion. Oblivion has just got that
Okay. Still holds that special
specialty.
place in your heart all these
Oh, it
years
still
later.
does. Still does. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, for me, I've talked about Elder Scrolls a lot, and I've probably not talked about Oblivion maybe as much as I should have because like this is still one of my top 10 all-time favorite games, but I think it gets overshadowed for me just because like Morrowind is like, my favorite single player game of all time, so it's just like higher on that ranking. So I end up when I have the opportunity to geek out about Elder Scrolls, I go to Morrowind because that was a game I played as a kid when I was like too young. I didn't understand like anything. I didn't, I was missing so many of the mechanics at the time. And over the years, I've kind of learned more and more about it. And I still do a Morrowind playthrough every like 2 or 3 years at the very latest kind of thing. And then I remember, I have a very similar situation to you. Is like, yeah, my cousin always had all the new consoles. I was always a few years behind. And I remember going to his place one time, and either he had rented or he had a copy of Oblivion. And so coming from me playing Morrowind for years and years and years, I don't even think I knew Oblivion existed. I just didn't even have that tech in my, little Rutland house. So go over to his place, just seeing Oblivion and being just blown away by the visuals of it, by just like the way it evolved. Of course, the music just gets in there, like the Dark Brotherhood, which, there is a Dark Brotherhood quest in Morrowind, but it's not really the same. There's Fighters Guild, Mages Guild, a lot of the same things, but like the Dark Brotherhood, which is such an iconic one, is not quite the same as it was in Oblivion. And then like Skyrim tried to recapture that, as you mentioned, maybe not super successfully. And then eventually when I got a 360, got Oblivion, I think it was probably the Game of the Year edition as well, because I had all the DLCs, played that game just hundreds of hours there, and then later on got it on PC and then played it for like hundreds of hours there as well. I did download some mods, but I'm mostly a vanilla guy when it comes to these kind of games. Even if they are super janky, I kind of love them for the jank at the same time, and I'm kind of just used to that at this point in time. So yeah, Oblivion, a game I love very, very much. And I went on to love Skyrim as well, but it doesn't quite have the same space in my heart as Oblivion and Morrowind do. Just that duo of like all-time favorite RPGs and games for me. So yeah, I love this game. And I've always said like for years on Geekverse, whether probably even before Sidequest times, like what are they going to do? So like they have Elder Scrolls Skyrim release, and then like okay, they go make Fallout 4. Eventually they made Fallout 76, and then we know they're doing Starfield, and like we got the announcement for Elder Scrolls 6, but it seems like years and years away. It's like what are they going to do in the meantime? What are Elder Scrolls fans going to chew on? Because like of course there's the MMO, and some people are into that. There hasn't been a spin-off in a while, like Blades or like the card game. Like we haven't had a new one of those. Like what are they going to do? And I feel like a remaster or remake is a great path to go, but it's also something they've never done. Bethesda's never like done that for their games, other than like Skyrim getting like updated versions for the consoles as it came out, but we haven't got one like something like that for an older game. And I've always said that like I think Oblivion would be the best one to go for because it's just a bit more modern, probably easier to transfer it over, and I feel like in a lot of ways it's kind of aged worse than Morrowind in some ways, just because like Morrowind's combat is aged horrendously, it's awful, but like Oblivion's lighting is maybe some of the worst lighting ever. Like it's horrendous, but I do love the look of that game, but it is very glowy and weird, and things are way too bright and it looks strange, and you're in a fantasy world, so it makes sense. But I think that was like the first thing that struck me about playing this remake is like, oh, this remaster might have the best lighting I've ever seen in any video game, and Oblivion has like some of the worst like 3D lighting in any game ever. Just to have that like just that bridge gapped now is really, really entertaining. But yeah, tell me like what did you do? Because this is a game you've played many times before. Like when you boot this game up, this remaster first time, like what kind of character did you make? And like what did you do? Like did you go do some main quest stuff? Did you go straight for I want to do Dark Brotherhood again? Did you go and explore things you've never done before? Like where did your heart take you on this journey?
So My go-to always is Dark Elf. I'm always
Dude,
rocking a
me
Dark
too.
Elf.
I love Dark Elf. Yeah,
Nice. That
yeah,
fire resistance and
yeah,
yeah, it goes a long way. I've always wanted to be an Argonian, and there's a few other classes I've always wanted to try, but you know what? I'm just true and true Dark Elf. So
yeah.
that's my go-to, and then once I get in to Oblivion, usually my first thing I ever do is I go for the Fin Gleam. That's that's just it really helps out in the long run, and I feel like it's justified at this point with the night vision, the water breathing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like how can you not? It goes a long way, and it just looks super super badass. So I usually get that until I get more stronger magic that can kind of help me go along. So it won't be long before I go to like some. I think Coral has like a mage guild or mage store that I can start getting some spells and whatnot. So I'll probably
Yeah,
go
I forget what
there.
the mastery is for that one because I haven't been there yet in this playthrough, so I forget what
Mhm.
their school is that they teach.
Yeah. But until then, I went through and did some of the main story. So I closed the first Oblivion gate at Kvatch,
Oh,
help
okay,
them
nice.
help liberate that a little bit, and so once that's kind of like squared away, then now I feel like okay, now I'm more open. I found the descendant of Earl Septim, got him set
Hmm.
up at like the Blade stronghold, so he's out there, and so
Right,
now
Martin. Right.
Martin, yeah, I did not sleep, and so I had like all my levels were like going up and up and up, and I thought, okay, I need to go and find like a bed to rest and like actually stack up my new attributes and whatnot. So I went and did that, and now I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. My character's at a pretty good spot. Got some coin, got some armor, got some levels up, and so now my goal is going to be working towards the Dark Brotherhood quest line, getting that, and
Nice.
then working on my magic. One of my favorite things back in the day, and I wish that Skyrim allowed this. Skyrim only had scrolls that were really hard to find that allowed you to have invisibility for a set amount of time. And in Oblivion, you could actually learn a spell that you could conjure every like 60 seconds or something like that. Not, don't quote me on that, but you could basically reuse it, not once a day, but every so often in a span of time where you could just go invisible. It was like a chameleon or something like that. And so
Yeah, chameleon
working,
is like invisibility that doesn't end once you attack. Yeah, it's just like, but
yes.
it's like more percentage based usually. So it's like, oh, you get like 10% chameleon. But of course, like, Skyrim, I think, has sanded off a lot of the edges of like crazy broken stuff you could do. And like Morrowind, even going back to like Daggerfall, I feel like those games were super broken and they've gotten less broken over time. But
That's
Oblivion still
true.
had enough brokenness where I remember, yeah, one of my friends, but it's just not something you could do if you had a lot of money or a higher level. But he had like, yeah, like 4 or 5 different armor pieces, whatever the maximum you could wear, all with a percentage of chameleons that he was at 100% chameleon all the time, so just always
Nice.
invisible even when you attack and stuff. It's like that's the kind of crazy stuff I love that you can still do in this, and you can still craft spells in this game, which is something they removed in Skyrim. And so you can just do wacky, crazy stuff still, which
Hmm.
I just I love that jank, and I love the ability to like break the game to some extent. So yeah, shouts to chameleon and invisibility.
Yeah, that and I mean that whole concept of going invisible just helps so much when you're becoming an assassin in the Dark
Hmm.
Brotherhood. Really, really like that. And I just remember the whole hideout that they had where you can go in there and all the other assassins that were around. That was cool. And I'll never
Yeah.
forget too, just being randomly bit by a vampire one day. And it's like, what the fuck is this? I can't go outside anymore. This is absolute bullshit. And now
Yeah,
I
and then
gotta
your
go on this
stats are just
quest.
cracked, and you can just fly around and like destroy everything. But
Nuts.
then you also
Absolutely
just
nuts.
die in the sunlight. It's so
Yeah.
fun, high risk, high reward for sure.
It is. It is. Eventually, I'd like to get strong enough so I could go to the Shivering Isles because I remember
Yeah.
weeks later after going over to my friend's house, he's like, "Look at this! I got the expansion." And it was cool because he had it on Xbox, and so he actually bought the expansion when expansions were actually like discs. So he had the Shivering Isles that was like a separate disc for the Xbox 360 that
Right.
he had to put in. And so I remember when he had that, and he was all like raving about it, and he was showing me like Sheogorath. And Sheogorath was just like a fucking lunatic, like I'll rip out
Hmm.
your intestines, ah, ha, ha,
Yeah.
ha, ha. Like just a total lunatic. So I can't wait to get there. And like this game shadow dropping, I was not expecting that. I remember seeing the trailer tease on Monday, and then I went to work on Tuesday, and then my one work buddy is like, "Oh look, here's the trailer. They dropped it." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"What? It's out!" And so like I want to play more Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I want to play like and the other day, I was like, "Oh, it would be nice to play a little Call of Duty," but like, no, just Oblivion. It's sitting there, and I still putting the hours in. I want to play
Yeah.
more this weekend. It's just, it's so good.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think what you've just like highlighted, saying it directly, is just like this is so authentic to what that original game is. Like, it is a remaster. It looks and feels and sounds and like smells like it's a remake, but it's like, no, this is a remaster. I don't know how they did it, of like taking that original janky Bethesda engine but then like overhauling it through Unreal Engine 5. I have no idea how the tech works on something like that, but like this game plays and feels it smells and tastes and all that good stuff like Oblivion, but and then it's just like obviously looks a whole lot better, and then they've fixed some things here or there. The UI, I think, is something that definitely needs some improvement. That was like specifically with the console version, but like, well, I think that was the issue here. Like for Morrowind, that was because Morrowind was on Xbox, the original Xbox, and they had a different UI for that. Morrowind's UI on PC, I think, is still maybe one of my favorite UIs in all of video games, and I wish they would do more of that. But it's like since then they've kind of simplified it, and now like the console and PC version just has the same UI. It makes sense. Then you only have to build it once instead of like two different versions for two different systems. But that was like an issue with Oblivion, is they tried to find some in between, something that was good for PC players but also worked for console players and controllers, and instead they just like kind of had a bad menu that's like really difficult, and you're flipping through tabs all the time and it takes forever to do things. And I feel like they've simplified a lot of that, so they've kind of just improved it, but like it also is still a very janky game, which is like one of the reasons why I love Oblivion so much. And like even in the 20-minute long video, Todd Howard, like he kind of does a little wink and nod, and he's like, Oblivion has a certain charm to it. That's the word he uses, and that is a good word, a fitting word. But like charm / also jank, it's kind of like why we love this game so much. And like, the physics of it is something I wondered if like that would still be in here, considering it's in a new engine. And like that's something I kind of expect only through Bethesda's engines, is the ability to like go into any building, pick up a bowl of apples and throw the apples on the ground, and like that's just a funny goofy thing you can do, which I always used to do when I would do like a Thieves Guild quest and I have to go steal something from someone's house. I would always like trash the place. I would throw all their food on the ground, knock everything over, and like it didn't actually, it was not like the game was reading my action there and like rewarding me with a dialogue option or something, but it was just something I would do for fun. And it's like this game still has that, and it's kind of broken in a different way that I don't even remember the original Oblivion having, where like I went in a couple Mages Guild charter buildings, and man, I was just walking around, and like every time I turn around, I feel like more books are just flying off shelves and just falling on the ground, and like clothes are janking out and like falling on the ground. And you know what? I would not have it any other way. It's part of the magic of this game, is that jank / charm. But yeah, I feel like it's crazy how much it fits, and like it just looks better, but they have the same sound effects. Even something like they talked about how they added new dialogue. Part of the issue with Oblivion and some of the immersion of it is like they just only had a certain amount of, I guess, voice actors or voice lines they could have, and so a lot of the different races end up having the same voice, but it doesn't really fit with what they look like. And so they added new it might be the same dialogue but just with new voice actors, and like it just seamlessly fits. Like I don't know, have you found anything so far that you've been like, oh, I don't like this change, or this doesn't feel like Oblivion, or it doesn't fit in, it's too uncanny? Is there been anything like that for you so far yet that doesn't fit in with that vision of what Oblivion is to you?
No, because I feel like it's evolved into a very modern-esque, styled game. Like there's nothing that's really changed that has caught me off guard. I mean, the layout, not your inventory and tabs and whatnot, but just the way I think when you load up into your game and the way you have your HP, your mana, and everything, that is more like Skyrim looking like.
Yeah, the
which
stamina
is nice.
bar, it looks more like,
yeah. So I can appreciate that, and I feel like there may be like subtle little things from Skyrim that they've kind of incorporated and sprinkled into here, but nothing major, no huge overhaul to change it. It's just they've rebuilt it up to make it feel like what it was before, but it looks the same. Yeah, there's extra voice lines in there. There's some extra stuff in there, but it's just great when I'll fast travel to a city, and because I'm doing one quest, and when I appear in the city, this random like wood elf just runs up, help me. Okay, like we're gonna do this now. It's just, there's so many fun little zany things, and that's just one of the reasons I love Oblivion so much.
Man, it was so great. I went, so my playthrough, I was like, should I do something different, like a build I haven't done before? Because that's just how expansive these games are. Like maybe I haven't played I don't know if I've ever played a Breton in this game, But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go with my tried and true here, same as you. Dark Elf. I'm kind of playing like a rogue sorcerer combination. I wanted to use some magic. I was wondering if that was something they were going to change. I think one of the best, probably the single best change, in my opinion, that Skyrim did from Oblivion and Morrowind and all that was just like adding like the two-handed system to it, where you can choose like what's equipped in what hand, and like magic now takes one of your hands and you can like shoot out magic in a way that feels a lot better than in this game where you just like click a button to activate a spell, right? And that's just not quite as fun as like the Skyrim version of it. But like no, they kept it the same as it was, which I'm totally fine with too. So yeah, I wanted to use a little bit of magic. Of course, like you can't not be a stealth archer if you're gonna play Oblivion. It's just too fun. Also using weapons. Like I'm kind of just using a little bit of everything, jack of all trades, which I kind of feel like is what the Dark Elf is, sort of. Like it's not like they have a super duper big weakness. And the first thing I did was I looked at the world map again. I was like, okay, what's the closest city? And like, oh yeah, well, of course, Imperial City's right behind you, but like Cheydinhal is just up the hill, and that's always been my favorite city, just visually. And so like, yeah, I'm not even gonna fast travel there. I'm just gonna walk up to Cheydinhal. Maybe I'll get sidetracked, go in a couple caves or something. Go up to Cheydinhal, which I don't even know if that's how it's pronounced. It's just how I pronounced it as a kid, and so I'm still gonna pronounce it that way. But anyway, walking around that, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Like there's a river that goes to that town, and now that river just looks a whole lot better. And there's like more foliage and stuff, and like the buildings have always kind of been like the Victorian style with the big wooden beams, and it's always been like a little bit purple, but I feel like they really highlighted that purple extra. But like the game's, you know, not quite as bright and overexposed, whatever, saturated, I guess is the word I'm looking for, as the original one. But man, it looks gorgeous. So just walking around that town, I eventually ended up joining the Mages Guild there and the Fighters Guild, and so I've just been doing like kind of entry level quests for Mages and Fighters Guild. And then I just kind of went down the map. I just walked all the way south, went through found some things I've never seen before. That's just how expansive these games are. And like I've spent hundreds of hours with these games, but not thousands. So there's still things I haven't seen yet. And then went all the way down to Breville, did, you know, a couple quests there. And then I went all the way south down to Leyawiin. And that's kind of where I got to in my first like 5 or 6 hours with the game. So just kind of checking out the different towns, talking to these different characters, picking up some basic quests, just kind of messing around so far and having a great time with that. It's great. Like it's not different, you know, like it is, but it isn't at the same time. I think that's what I'm so happy about this, is like they just made it so faithful. And I think that's something that really was highlighted in the video, because of course this is not made by Bethesda. Bethesda's involved, and I'm sure they asked them for advice and stuff, but it's made by Virtuous Studios, I think. Virtuos, something like that is the name of the studio here that made this. And in the video you get people from that studio who are talking about like, should we add sprinting? That was like an internal debate they had, and eventually they did, and like that's not something the original Oblivion had, and I like it. I think it's a good change. You know, that was something in Skyrim. It fits in here just as well, and it fits well with like the mana, or the stamina system and the fatigue system. Like it doesn't clash with those systems at all. So I think that's like a good little change to make the game have a little bit more locomotion for someone who hasn't like just cracked out their speed stat at the like character creation side of things. So like there's little tasteful changes throughout, but nothing that's like mind-blowingly making it a different experience, which is not what you would want for something like this.
Yeah.
Where do I want to go? I think, so the biggest thing that I think they changed, and I'm still, you know, I need to spend a lot more hours with the game to see how this works out, is like before, if I was telling someone to play Oblivion, or someone was a Skyrim fan and they're asking me, hey, what do I need to know about Oblivion for jumping in? I feel like you don't need to know much, but the main thing I would tell them about is like, the leveling system is completely busted in this game, and I would recommend like just don't ever sleep and don't level up. Because literally, you know, I would do that when I first played the game, but eventually it got to a point where that's how I would play Oblivion. I would never level up my character. I'd have 50 hours on a character and they'd still be level 1, because the whole game is based around level scaling, where the higher level you are, the higher level the enemies you're going to fight are. What would be a basic bandit now have like crazy glass armor and stuff like this, and they do way more damage. And you know, that it's good to engage with that stuff too, because I feel like also what comes with the level scaling is you're encountering like different enemy types. And so it's funny, when the trailer was popping off, I'm like, I have never seen a couple of these enemies, just because of how I never leveled up. And so I would just never see these enemies that would only appear when you're higher level in the game. And so there's like just new content unlocked. So it seems like they talked about how they've rebalanced that. So far it seems a lot better. You don't have to worry as much about like grinding out your minor skills and doing annoying stuff of like having to notepad next to you to keep track of, oh, my athletics went up. I got to put like 2 sets into alchemy. I got to do this so I get my perfect leveling. You don't have to worry about any of that now. It's just a lot simpler. And so, yeah, it remains to be seen how the balance is. I will say I picked like just the regular difficulty, and that's been like too easy. And then I went up to expert, and it was like insanely difficult. So that balance seems kind of off there. And that was something I would always do in the original Oblivion too, is like just constantly tweaking the difficulty level throughout to like make it a fun experience. And so maybe it seems like it still has a bit of that. So I don't know how perfect that is. But then I read on Reddit, apparently when you get like to level 10, it balances out, and like adept becomes like a really solid difficulty. So that's one of the things I've read about. So we'll see what happens there. But I think that was, to me, that's always been the biggest caveat for Oblivion, is like the leveling system kind of sucks. Here's how you should engage with it. And now I don't have to have that caveat. It seems like you can kind of just play the game. And if you're listening to this now and you've only played Skyrim, I don't think you need to know anything. Just like, don't worry about doing the main quest. Don't worry about doing this or that. Just, get lost, go in the random direction, find something cool. Or if you want a little more guidance, just go to a town, do a certain guild quest. Every guild quest line in this game is fun. Dark Brotherhood is the highlight. I'd say Thieves Guild is probably number 2. But like Mages Guild, Fighters Guild are really fun. Main quest is solid. Like, you can't go wrong. I can't think of a point that's like a dull moment in this game. Then obviously when you deal with the DLC stuff as well, you're getting like some great content there too. But you probably want to be a bit higher level before you go to the Shivering Isles, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a rude awakening, I will say, when you get over encumbered. Skyrim, I think, was a little bit more generous, but man, I had my armor on. I was like, oh, this is a new plate body I found. I'll pick it up. I picked it up, so I have 2 plate bodies in my inventory, and I can no longer run, and it's very, very unfortunate. And I know you can get spells that obviously boost what you
feather,
can carry. Yeah, so that's kind of nice, but it sucks at the start. It really, really does.
It was funny how like I was because I've played this tutorial, and after I played it for a couple minutes, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the same game, so I don't need to take in every detail. I can blast through this tutorial because I've played this 100 times before. I think that'd be my one point of advice for anyone playing this game. When you're right before you're about to leave the sewers for the first time, you get a prompt to like, you can change your character's look, you can change your class. Like, it gives you one last prompt, like, hey, do you want to make any changes before you go out into the open world and you can't change anything? Make a save right there so that when you replay the game and you boot up a new character, you can kind of just skip that tutorial stuff. So yeah, pick the save right before you exit the sewers, and then you just modify all your character, and then you just go out into the open world. So that's always something I do. So I've now set that up, so my subsequent playthroughs I can blast through that. But yeah, I think that's like I don't know. That's like maybe the one point of advice I'd give. Sorry, what were you just saying? Because I had a train of thought, and then I just totally drifted off into my other thought.
I was talking about the encumbrance and how much you can carry.
When I was blasting through the tutorial, and then I like got over encumbered, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing that you have to deal with here. I think the silver lining here is like, now that the leveling system is less janky than it was before, and I'm leveling up my character. And it seems like you always get 12 points that you can allot into 3 of the different stats, right? Like, I'm almost always like, at least on the first few levels, I think I'm level 5 or 6 now. So like the first 3 levels, I think I just dumped at least 5 points into strength. And so I've got like my carry capacity up a whole lot more. And it seems like just because you don't have to like worry about micromanaging that now, you're just going to get those 12 points. It's pretty easy to just dump 5 points into strength right away, which is another thing too, that like, you kind of always were best off to level endurance early on, because like it would scale how much health you'd get at every time you leveled up. So it's like something you want to do early on. But I read now that you don't need to worry about that. Like, it'll retroactively give you all the health you should have got if you put points in endurance later on. So that's a cool little change that they made as well. Yeah. So have you been doing that? Have you been dumping some extra strength points into get your carry capacity up when you're leveling up?
I did, but I probably have to put a little bit more in there to really start bumping it up some more.
It's pretty notable. It's not like, oh, you get like 2 extra pounds. Like, you'll notice the extra weight you can carry pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah. Then I gotta just put some more points in. I was putting whatever points I could towards like health and magic are usually my primaries. Those are what I focus on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think this game like has a bit of a simpler. It has like I guess it doesn't have like the perk system right of Skyrim, so you don't think as much. Like, just when you do your level up, you pick your points and you go on your merry way. But there's not like huge skill trees. It's a lot more basic. And then when you hit the thresholds of like level 25, 50, 75, and 100 of a different skill, that's when you get some ability. So like I think it's like shield bash or something you get when you're like level 50 of like the shield stat. So you do get perks and things like that. They're just kind of more gated behind what level you are rather than like having a perk point and selecting where you want to put that thing. But yeah, I feel like you don't really need to worry about like as much like playing a specific character class, which is something I have critiqued about Skyrim and how it's like less about like making a very specific class that has strengths and weaknesses, and now this seems like it's a bit more in that kind of realm of things. But I don't know, it's fine. I'm not too hurt about that kind of thing. As we've mentioned here, like yeah, the DLC is included. There is a deluxe version though that has additional things, like including some weapons. Apparently, there's some quests. I don't know if those are new quests or whatnot. I got to look into that. And then like the funniest thing too is that one of the bonus things is that there's horse armor.
The horse
as one of the
armor,
deluxe things, which was like this game got so much shit back in the day for like selling horse armor for like $5 or something as like a microtransaction on the Xbox and PlayStation store. And that's like a lot of people like credit like a lot of microtransaction hell that we're in today back to like Bethesda charging for fucking horse armor back in the day. So I feel like it's a very on the nose thing for them to charge for horse armor again. But I think they're kind of going with the meme. At the same time, they're being like kind of greedy with that too. But I feel like they're kind of playing like they're being in on the joke. I think when they did that there this time around. I didn't actually see how much the deluxe version is. Did you get that, or are you just playing with the Game Pass version here? Because of course this is Xbox Game Studio, so it's a Game Pass title. It's on PS5 as well, though.
I'm just doing Games Pass. I didn't buy it, but I mean,
how much it is. If it's like $10, I might.
I think that the main game itself, I think it's around $45 to $50.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm pretty sure Games Pass, if you buy games that are on Games Pass and you have Games Pass, I think they give you a bit of a discount when you buy it, or maybe I'm mistaken on that.
No, they do that pretty often, so I wouldn't be surprised about. Well, usually it's for the base game though. I feel like not necessarily the DLC.
Yeah.
DLC add-on stuff, because that's why they do that for all their games now, right? Because they know a lot of people are just going to be playing through the Game Pass. So they want to nickel and dime those people to pay a little bit more. So I'll look into that and see how much that is. I think the biggest thing about this for me is like what I already mentioned. Like the lighting is fucking gorgeous in this game. You get a lot of different variety of like what, maybe it's like a little overcasty sort of day or a little foggy or something like that, and then sometimes the sun will just shine through in beautiful ways. But I think for me, like the greatest part about it is like if you're inside a building and it's like morning and like those morning rays are coming through, you can like see them coming through the window and like in a way that's so realistic that I just feel like I haven't really seen in a game before. But I love that when you're inside a building, you're still feeling like what time of day it is in a more like realistic way. I think like the lighting has just stood out to me in like a really huge way. That's maybe my one complaint about this so far is I think maybe one of the things I was hoping for is that like they would be able to remove some of the loading zone stuff. Not that they would make the whole game just one loading zone, but like for me, when I went into any of the mages guilds or fighters guilds, there's like 2 or 3 stories in most of them. And like each one of those is a different loading zone. But I feel like with the tech we're at now, like you probably could have made that one loading zone. But I think once again, since this isn't a remake and they didn't build all the stuff from scratch, it probably just isn't that easy. They'd have to do a lot of work to like make these all one loading zone, even just fitting them in the world in a realistic way. So that's fine. But also the load times, a little bit, like they're definitely not as bad as like playing on a 360, of course, but like a little bit longer than I'd expect. Like maybe they're better on PS5. I think it's got a better SSD than the Series X, but I'm sure on PC it's just depending on how good your PC is and all that. But maybe that's like my only kind of minor complaint, but not a big deal. But man, that fucking lighting is insane. Combat is not really. It seems like minor, more like visual stuff. Like there's more sound effects and like sparks if you like smash someone's shield. It seems like there's a couple new combo things that I don't really recognize. So a couple minor changes there. That's good. One funny thing that I wondered if they would leave in here or if they would fix it is that one of my favorite bugs, glitches in the original Oblivion is like the paintbrush glitch. Did you ever use the paintbrush glitch?
I don't think so.
So the paintbrush is just a random object in the world that you see like forks and knives and plates and baskets, stuff all over the random world. You can pick up this stuff. but paintbrushes, for whatever reason, did not have physics attached to them. It's just like a bug. So when you drop a paintbrush, it just like is floating there in midair, a little paintbrush.
Oh,
But it's big enough that you can jump on top of the paintbrush. And so if you had collected like 10 paintbrushes, Taylor, you could make a floating staircase of paintbrushes that's like, it's you got to parkour this stuff. It's like a small hitbox of what like you could stand on. But one of my favorite things to do was if you could go in Imperial City, and minor spoilers for the end of Oblivion here, which I know this game just came out, but it's a 20-year-old game. Like the in Imperial City when you get into like the huge like kaiju fight, like when you get to that point of the game, like if you could do this paintbrush glitch, and I did this a couple times. You stack up a bunch of paintbrushes, you climb up top to one of the building that like activates that cutscene in the main game. If you go to like the top of that building, you could like activate the loading. You could activate a loading zone from the top of that would trigger the ending cutscene of the game, and so you could just like essentially beat the game or like roll the main quest ending by like using this paintbrush glitch to like glitch yourself up to the top of this building and like activate it from behind, which is something definitely did a couple times. So you can't do that anymore. The paint maybe you can't do it. Maybe you do it another way. But you cannot do it through paintbrushes because now those are a physics object and they fall on the ground when you drop them, which is fine. But a funny thing that I noticed that they changed. No official mod support on this, although there are already mods for it if you're on PC. But I guess just like for the last couple Bethesda games, they've had mods you can download on consoles. That's not the case here, and probably won't be the case. So it's like technically they say no mod support, but of course you can still download mods for it. It's just not like as supported in a way that they normally would for some of their games, so that's fine. What else? I think, one funny thing, I don't know if this was like a hint that this was coming, but in Starfield, the Adoring Fan is a character in that game that you can pick as a perk, and you'll like have the Adoring Fan follow you around. It's of course not the same guy from Cyrodiil, it's just like he looks similar. It's the same voice actor though. And so I feel like, I wonder if that was a little bit of a hint that like, we haven't forgot about Oblivion. Oblivion is still around. The Adoring Fan, one of the most iconic characters in the game, still a thing. So there you go. That's a thing. And let's see. I think this is just. I think it's just great. There's so many people that have not played this game. Skyrim is one of the best-selling games of all time, and that means that there's a lot of people that just played Skyrim. Have never played the other Elder Scrolls games, and now people can play like the best looking Elder Scrolls game ever, and a game that's still super fun. And yes, it's janky, but I don't know, I think it still holds up. And it's not as good of an RPG as like a Baldur's Gate 3, but it's just in terms of exploration, open world design, variety, quest design, it's just a fucking stellar game. So yeah, maybe before Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, I definitely want to do like a bit more of a retro of these games and like dive deep into some of the details and do like a full playthrough. And of course, you and I have only had a couple days to play this remaster here, but I'm just so happy to have Oblivion back in my life in a easily accessible way that looks fantastic and plays just like I remember it, and still has the janky voice lines. And I think one of the funniest things that happened for me when I was walking around Cheydinhal, there was this one guy who I got somewhat near. I'm not even that close, and he's like, "Don't waste my time. I don't want to talk to you." And then I walked for 5 steps. "Don't waste my time." And he was going around every NPC just yelling out the same line 5 or 6 times, same delivery every time. And I'm like, I'm home. Like, it was just a perfect moment. So I love this game. I'm so glad to have it. I will be playing a lot of it. And I'll probably share some more fun adventures with it. But I'm so excited to hear people's first time playing this game. Whether you're a Skyrim fan or not, I'm just excited to hear how those people feel about this game in a modern 2025 lens. But such a delight. I don't know if we'll get this for other Bethesda games. I could see us getting it for Fallout 3, but I don't know if we'll get it for like Morrowind or other Elder Scrolls games. So I'm just gonna take it in. I'm happy with this. This will hold me over until Elder Scrolls 6, hopefully, unless that game's like 10 years away. But very happy to have it. Do you have any thoughts on Oblivion here?
Oh, I don't think so. I think I hit everything I needed to.
Sounds good. Do you have a horse? Did you get the horse from Wayne and Priory?
I haven't gotten a horse yet. I think the Brotherhood quest line in here gives you a horse, right? Or maybe I'm thinking of Skyrim.
Oh yeah, you get. It's not Shadowfax, because that's the name of Gandalf's horse, right? It's
something Shadow, though. I believe it's
it is Shadow.
Conjuring Dark Horse or something like that.
Yeah, something like
I
that.
gotta look. Oblivion.
Yeah, I should know that. That's just goes to show how it's been a few years since I've played Oblivion.
Shadowmere, that's right.
Shadow Mirror, that's the one. Yeah, knew it had a shadow in there. Do you have a favorite house? When you get enough money to buy a house, where are you going to buy your first property? I know the
I
Imperial
like
City is like the cheapest one, but where are you going first?
I usually go Imperial City, right? It's
For
easy
the
to get
shack.
to, right on the outside for the shack. Yeah, you got that chest right when you walk in. So
Yeah.
that'll probably be what I go to.
And well, I guess now since this has all the DLC, you also have the castle, Battlehorn Castle, I think is the name of that. Did you ever use that DLC back in the day?
I don't recall. Is that like
Okay,
Knights of
cool.
the Nine
No,
incorporated?
it was just one of the random, like, you know how they had like the Spire and they had like the
Oh,
Dunbarrow Cave or whatever. Like they just had random little one-off DLCs that was like one location
I
on the
know
map.
exactly what you're talking about. My cousin had
Battlehorn
this
Castle, a huge
DLC.
castle. You got to like clear out some enemies when there's like secret passages. It's a huge castle that it's like all yours. So I might wait till I'm a bit higher level canonically, so it feels like I can fit in with that place. But yeah, I'm excited to get that again and go see that in true HD fashion and all that.
No kidding.
All right, cool. Let's take our first break. We will be right back. Okay, we are back. Taylor Field, big day here. On the day we're recording, it is April 24th, which means that is the day that the Switch 2 pre-orders, the first wave of these bad boys went live. Tell me how your morning went trying to, get your hands on one of these bad boys.
Yeah, it was chaotic to say the least. I got up this morning and I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna try and get a Switch 2. And Travis had messaged me. He said, "Are you gonna go and get one?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get one." So I set up a contingency plan. Now, where the local GameStop is, it's really close to where my wife works, and so I thought, okay, well, my wife is gonna go to work, and then she'll be nearby. She can scope it out. I didn't think that there was gonna be a lineup, but when she got there, there was a lineup. Now, pre-orders online start at 9 a.m. and that's Pacific Standard Time, and the GameStop opens up at 10, so people were lined up well in advance waiting to get in. My wife had to go to work, so she couldn't wait in line, obviously. So I thought, okay, that's okay. But the reason I set her up to go in person was because when I got my Xbox Series X, I couldn't get an online order, and for the life of me, it just wasn't happening. So I took a lunch at my job, and I went to the GameStop, and they had a separate amount of pre-orders available in store as opposed to what was online. So it was thought, oh my gosh, this is the way to do it. There wasn't a lineup at the time because it was the Xbox Series X, but I digress. This being Nintendo, it had a lineup. So I thought, okay, well, my wife, I'm not going to make her wait in line. She's got to go to work. So she went to work. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to fight on the front lines here. I'm going to open up a tab on my phone, open up a tab on my computer, and see if I can get into the queue. And the queue the whole time was like, oh, 4 hours, 5 hours. It was taking forever. I thought, great, this is not what I want. And then Travis just messages me, says like, oh yeah, I got one on Best Buy. I'm like, oh my God. So I switched over to Best Buy, and by the time that queue loaded, it was too late. It did say while I was in the queue, like, we've sold out of the regular Switch 2 packs, but the Switch 2 Mario Kart bundles are still available. So that's the one I wanted. That's the one what I ultimately got. So Madison, she, after all my everything was saying sold out, sold out, sold out, so I was running out of luck. And then she texts me and she's like, oh, it's still available. I'm like, oh, what does this mean? Like, are you gonna go get it? And she doesn't respond. So I'm thinking, oh my God. So I'm thinking, like, I call the GameStop because I'm thinking I need to just get confirmation, like, is it available? Like, I'm gonna go on my lunch, I'm gonna drive there, I'm gonna put a pre-order down and get it. She I sent her a bunch of texts saying, like, okay, well, like, call me when you get in the line, like, if you're gonna go and get it, like, I want to make sure you get the right one, yada yada yada, we got to talk about this. And so she texts me back a receipt with my ex. I gave her my Edge card, so she texts me back the receipt, a photo of it with the Edge card, and I'm like, oh my God, like, she's like, I got it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I was super stoked. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, which one did you get, which version? And she doesn't respond. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is stressful, because the main receipt which labels what you got was down, but EB Game or GameStop staples like your debit transaction
Yeah,
receipt,
right.
so that was right on top, and the photo, it completely blocked out which bundle she got. So I'm thinking, fuck, this is stressing me out. So I had to wait like a half an hour before she responded, and she's like, I got the Mario Kart one. I was like, oh,
Nice.
thank God. So that was that was around like 12:30 when that finally unfolded. So it was a very long morning just trying
Yeah.
to fight this uphill battle, but yes, she got the pre-order in, got the receipt, so I'm good for June.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I had a no journey whatsoever. I was in the office this morning, couldn't spend the time to go around to places or do it online. So I did not get a pre-order. Still don't have one. I'm on the Nintendo waitlist thing, which they set up intentionally to like prevent scalpers. So we'll see if they were successful at that. I'll let you know on May 8th. I think is the day that that goes live. So we'll see if I'm able to get one that way. I'm not heartbroken if I can't get one day one. I'm glad that you got one. I'm glad that Travis has got one too. So we'll definitely have some coverage of the system here on Sidequest, even if it takes me a little bit to get one. I'm just hoping to get one before Bonanza. That's my goal at this point. But yeah, I'm excited that we're talking about this now because I didn't even know because I was waiting to talk to you on Sidequest. Like I didn't even know where your hype level was on this console in general. If you're going to get one, there's obviously been a lot of conversation about how it's very pricey. I know you've been very much looking forward to Mario Kart 9, which is now Mario Kart World, of course. So yeah, what was it about the console for you that was like, oh, this is 100% a day one. I got to pick this up. Like why were you so giddy to grab this bad boy?
um for me, it comes down to the backwards compatibility and what's going to be available. And with Nintendo games, I like to be more so in the now because Nintendo is just, to me, is very different from Xbox and PlayStation. Which is weird. It's just a personal thing, but it's a weird philosophy I have because just Nintendo, I feel like they're very finicky with how they do things, and I feel like it's something you want to stay up to date with and current with. That being said, I mean you're not in hot water if you still have like the original Switch and the Switch 2 comes out. Like you're still covered for a few years. You're still okay. But for me personally, I just thought with how things are going on with tariffs, whatnot, whatever you want to call it, and just that this is probably not going to go on sale for a while. I just
Mm-hmm.
figured I might as well just jump on board while I can because I remember when I got my Switch, it was a couple years after its release. But up until that point, I remember just seeing that okay, the Switch is still like it's hard to get. It's proven to be difficult to acquire. So I thought, oh, I don't want to run into that issue with this. I want to be able to get it and know that okay, I can still play my games. The fact that it comes with the GameCube
Yeah.
online thing, that's huge. I really like that component. So there's a few things that I really do like. And again, Mario Kart was a big kicker for me. Really, really like that. I don't have a huge attachment to Donkey Kong like you, Travis, do, but I'm not opposed to it. But um, at the end of the day, I'm just thinking like we're gonna get probably gonna
Mm-hmm.
get some really really cool new games
Yeah.
on here, and I want to be able to enjoy it. And as much as I love my Switch, I like how they've made little quality of life improvements on the Switch too, like the way the Joy Cons now clip in magnets, to
Right.
the console. That's really nice, and a few other
How do they
little
work?
little improvements. Yeah, so I'm all excited for it.
Yeah, other than Mario Kart, which of course you got the bundle, so you've already purchased that in theory. Like, what anything else from that initial direct that you're like immediate day one purchase on? Like, are you picking up Metroid? It sounds like Bonanza. You're more on the fence, and given the price of some of these games. You're probably not just gonna like be buying stuff left, right, and center. But yeah, like Prime, anything else, even like the non Nintendo stuff, just like third party things that were drawing you in.
I'm not real like I've never been super huge on the Metroid, just and not that I'm not a fan. I've never really gotten in and played them.
Yeah.
Kirby, that seems kind of fun, so maybe I'll buy the Nintendo Welcome Tour. Just kidding, I'm not gonna pay money for that. um, yeah, I
Kirby.
don't
Sorry, do you mean
know.
Kirby? The expansion for Forgotten Land, or do you mean Air Rider?
The Air Riders.
Did you play the game back in the day on GameCube?
No, I did not. So I have no idea what I'm really in store. It's just like a racing game. Is that right?
Yeah, racing combat collectible game. I mean, it's made by the Smash Bros. Team, which is
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I
and
think
this
it'd
one is
be
too.
it's multiplayer, right? I'm assuming.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I think it'd be a fun one to play with
I
Madison.
think
But
they dropped 2025 on that bad boy, so that's coming out later this year,
yes, yes, they
which is
did.
exciting. I think I just gotta see what the price is on that game. Like, I want to check it out because it's Sakurai. I'm a big fan of Smash Bros. I want to see what's going on there. I've never played the original though, um, but like, am I gonna, drop 115 bucks on like a gamble? Probably not. So we'll see what happens. I hope they put the original one on the GameCube online. They didn't have it in their little sizzle reel thing, and they might not if they're trying to sell a new one. But I definitely want to go back and play that game because it looks weird and cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, let's kind of segue that into a little bit of Mario Kart World, which you've been very much looking forward to Mario Kart 9. Now World, of course. You were wondering if like, okay, is it like a double dash is coming back, that sort of mechanic? What are they going to do for like new stuff? How do you feel about this kind of being like the Forza Horizon of Mario Kart, like open world exploration element of it, finding secrets, collectibles, like little mini quests, mini side quests, I'll call them, like just that generally being the direction. Are you happy with that? Given that's the direction they're going here for Mario Kart.
I mean, it's a component, right? So it's not like the only thing. It's not solely free roam. Am I correct in that? Like you
Yeah,
got your
I mean, there's
classic
the regular
Grand Prix and races.
regular Grand Prix and new items, new characters, all that regular stuff. But in terms of like what makes this game unique, it's the world element, right?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think it's really, really a lot of fun that you can just rip around out there in the open world. I think that's really cool, and that's something very new for a Mario game, at least, and a Mario Kart. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I like it's between that and Mario Party. I think me and Madison play a lot of Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm.
And two, just obviously my kid is still, I'd say, 2 years away from getting into this. Like she's aware of video games, and I put the controller. I was playing Lego Star Wars, and I put the controller in her hand, one without batteries, and I had the other one, and she was like
Nice.
engaging with it. So starting to ease her into that, and I think by the time she gets of age, like maybe we'll see what Mario Kart World has in terms of like DLC, but this is going to be a game for sure that I know she's going to want to play. And it's just with the amount of characters in here and the amount of things that you can do, I think a game like this to have a free roam is great for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are going to be able to just zoom around.
True.
They're not going to have to feel like, oh, I'm coming 20th place in this Grand Prix, I'm sucking or whatever like that. They could just rip around, have fun in a fun environment that they're familiar with, being Mario. So this is a win-win.
Yeah, I mean, I the more I've thought about that, because I was like, I don't know, am I really going to use that feature much? Is it just going to be something that like when the game comes out, I'm going to play it for like 2 hours and then like never touch it again? But I do think that it being the context of it being a day one title and it being a bundle pack-in, that like probably most people are going to try and go for the pack-in over not having the pack-in. So a lot of people are going to have this game. I feel like it's a great thing to have day one, where you're going to have the situation where you get it, you bring it home to your family, or you're the one person in your friend group who has a Switch, everyone comes over to play Mario Kart and you play that together. But then you're going to have the moments where like, I want to explore this console, I want to play more of it, but I'm solo. What am I going to do? What am I going to play single player wise? And it's like, oh yeah, here's just like a very in-depth single player mode for Mario Kart. I can't think of the last time I played Mario Kart on my own. Was maybe back in like probably when I played on the DS, because like it was a DS, so I was only playing that on my own. But otherwise, like I'm only ever playing this game with friends. But this is a good incentive to want to go in, and seeing more of it here. There's like little quests you're doing, little like challenges, talking to characters, you're unlocking costumes, even like finding shortcuts and other things for the maps. I don't know how much it'll be like that's how you unlock characters or like carts and things, or if it's really just more for like unlocking costumes. It seems like you go to these Yoshi restaurants, fast food restaurants, and that's how you get new costumes and whatnot. But yeah, I think it seems like a decent mode. And yeah, I don't know if it's one I'm going to spend a ton of time with, like maybe 3 or 4 hours or something in that single player mode, and then it's just back to multiplayer. But it's a cool thing to have in the mix. I guess what are some other things that we have? Like one thing that kind of stood out to me is like we sort of saw this in the initial trailer, but we kind of got it fully confirmed here that like around this huge world, the one huge continuous open world is like, you can just like go into the water and you just like have a boat like Diddy Kong style, and like some of the flying you can do is like a lot more. it's not true like plane. It is still the glide, but you can go a lot further. It seems like. So I think that the boat is like a really cool hybrid element. I'm curious to see how many of the maps feature that. Like even what we saw here, it seems like quite a few of them do have a lot of boat action in them, and it's kind of not so much like the boat that we had in Mario Kart 8, where it's like your tires flip and you're just kind of hovering, but it seems like you're a full-on boat transition now. So I'm pretty excited for that. I think that looks pretty cool. But other than the world part, what really stood out to you as like interesting mechanics that you're excited to play with?
Oh my goodness. Because it's been a while since I watched what they had unveiled with it. Interesting mechanics, though. Mm.
Need me to throw some things at you?
Yeah,
Here?
throw some things at me because I'm trying to. I don't remember a lot of the specifics from when they did the direct.
Yeah, I think maybe the biggest one, like gameplay wise, that I'm most excited for personally is just like almost like more like parkour stuff. Like there's wall riding, there's like grinding, and then they talked about how there's like the one of the new items is like the feather, which just gives you like a little vertical boost, which it seems like some shortcuts will only be accessible from that, where it's like, okay, you feather up to like grind on this one thing, and then you jump over here, do a wall ride to transition to another grind, and that's how you do this like whole shortcut situation. And like that level of mastery, I think will be really fun, especially when you're playing the game. Let's say you're like, oftentimes I'm maybe playing with my girlfriend or something like that. You know, maybe she doesn't play a lot of Mario Kart, so I'm like kind of wiping the floor with it. It's like, what am I? Maybe it's a little too boring. I need a little challenge here. And I feel like that'll be the fun element where it's like, okay, I can like work on something like mastering some of these courses, whereas someone else can just like go through the like linear kind of expected way. But it just feels like these maps are going to have a lot more to them, and that's where you can also through the single player feature like explore some of these crazy out of bounds shortcuts and things like that too.
Mm-hmm. And apparently there's a rewind ability too. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is true. So it just rewinds you and only you,
Oh, okay.
not everyone else. And I'm pretty sure I read in the fine print there that you can only use that in free roam and single player. So I
Okay,
don't
makes
think that's a
sense.
thing in multiplayer. Like if you could do a Grand Prix race with bots and do it, but I don't think you can do it with other people. I could be wrong, but I think I saw that little asterisk line at the bottom of the screen when they showed that feature off,
Okay,
which I think is
makes
great for the
sense.
single player more so, where it's like maybe you're doing some crazy series of intense jumps and you mess up at some point, and like just resetting your position to like something that would otherwise you have to do a full lap to get back to. I think that's like a nice, smart solution there.
Yeah.
I'm excited for costumes. That was something we've seen a little bit of before, but it seems like a lot of the characters have multiple costumes. Like we got like a Mad Max looking Waluigi. Like hell yeah, that looks fantastic. It seems like the character select screen is going to be a bit of a mess, especially when like you have to flip through multiple pages now, but then like all the costumes are like separate character icons, so that's going to be a total mess. But like whatever, I'm down just to have access to more characters and more costumes and all that. Can I give you my theory here, Taylor? Because I think one of
Mm-hmm.
the biggest things with like Mario Kart 8 was the first time we've had crossover characters, with the exception of I have a distinct memory of in Mario Kart DS, you could play as Rob, like Rob from Smash, like the robot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No idea why he was in there as a playable character. Super weird, but he was. And other than that, it's like, okay, if you count Diddy Kong and like Funky Kong as crossover characters, but like, Donkey Kong stuff's always integrated into Mario. But like Mario Kart 8, that was a big deal with that game, is that, oh, you got like your Inklings, you got your villagers, you got Link. You don't have Captain Falcon, but you have his ship, and you have like some F-Zero maps. We haven't seen any of that so far. It's only Mario stuff, and like they're bringing out the freak show characters. You can play as Spiny and Shy Guy and Penguin and Cow and all these things. Like they're going deep cut on Mario characters, but we haven't seen a single map or character that is not a Mario distinct thing. So that's what my theory for DLC for this game is going to be. I think we're going to get separate worlds. You're going to get like Hyrule World, or you'll get Animal Crossing World, and those will be like little continents or islands or something that either stick onto the outside of the map, or they are just like an island distinct on their own, and they have like a Grand Prix worth of like, there's 4 Zelda courses. You get one at like the top of Gerudo Mountain, you get one in like Lon Lon Ranch or whatever it is. So you kind of get 4 maps. You get like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 characters from Zelda stuff. and then you get your Animal Crossing one, you get your whatever. Because like the way it's set up right now, yeah, of course they could have DLC maps, but like I don't know which Mario character is not in this. Seems like every Mario character under the sun is already playable. So what would you do for DLC? And so that's what I think we'll get. And I would love to get like an F-Zero world. I'm just picking on Zelda and Animal Crossing because we got those worlds in Mario Kart 8. But I think that would be a really, really fun way, and I think people would buy that up big time. People would spend for that, or they could put it on the Nintendo Switch Online as a bonus there as well. I would love to see that. What do you think about that theory?
I would love to see that too. I think that would be awesome because you got your world here with Mario, and then a new continent has appeared, and you go off to that way, and it's like here's Hyrule. Like this is cool. It's got a whole bunch of like Legend of Zelda centric races and Grand Prix that you can do, and then you get those characters like Ganondorf.
What would be your
and his
top
ride.
series? Top series that you'd love to see get a world.
Hot tamale. Fire Emblem one would be pretty cool.
Travis would be pissed, I feel like, if that happened. That would be okay. Interesting pick. That's not what I thought you were going to say.
What did you think I was going to say?
That's your top pick, or are you just trying to pick
I'd say
it's
top two.
Wow.
My number one would probably be Legend of Zelda, but I feel like that's just
Hyrule would be great.
I'd want to spice it up, and I feel like a Fire Emblem or a Kirby. I think you could have some fun with those.
Kirby, especially with Air Riders coming out, that would be a good little unison. Like you could get like a little star as one of the carts. Get some Kirby characters in there. That could be really cool. I think that's a great pick. I think Forgotten Land, or not Forgotten Land, but Kirby could have a Forgotten Land course in there. I mean, more F-Zero stuff. I love those courses in Mario Kart 8. I think they're super fun, and it's, to me, absolutely criminal that Captain Falcon was not officially added as a character in that game, even though he had courses. Like, what is going on? I know he's a smaller deal than like Villagers and Link and stuff, but come on, put my boy in there. So I'd love to see that. I think a Metroid world would be super cool, just like a weird alien world where you're going through like the belly of the beast and there's crazy stuff going on and Metroids are trying to attack you. You get Samus playable. You get Ridley in a cart. Like, hell yeah. I think that would be super fun. So maybe, and I think, my pick beyond that, though, I think Pikmin would be cool. Just get like a mini, your mini characters in like a huge world where you're, because we kind of got that Mario Kart 8. Remember we got that bathroom level?
Yeah.
You could get like a bunch of things like that, which I think would be really, really cool.
Could you see Sonic, like Green Hill Zone world or something like that?
I think that would be a great idea, actually. Yeah, I think that would be like for the first time for it to go outside Nintendo properties, the first time it goes third party. I think that'd be honestly a great pick. And that's fitting because Smash Bros. The first time that had third party characters was with Brawl, where they had Sonic and Snake. So obviously two separate IPs in there. But yeah, like Sonic was, of course, one of the first two third parties to make it into Smash. So I think that'd be fitting. I think that'd be really cool. And isn't that already a thing, though? Isn't like Sonic kart racing a game?
It is. I remember playing it at a party.
Is it a new game or an old game? Or is there?
I want to say it's older. I remember it being
there
on
might be
PlayStation.
multiple. I feel like a new one came out somewhat recently. Not to say that would be disqualify it from being here. I was just thinking it'd be weird for Sonic to be a fast character. But like, why would he be in a car? Can't he just like run faster than a car? But then it's like, we're just having
Sonic
fun
Team
here,
Racing. So this came out on the Switch too. Actually, it looks like.
And I mean, there was also like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, so they've crossed over many times before. So I think that'd be a really good pick. Yeah, and you get like the whole crew. You get like Sonic, Shadow, Tails, and Knuckles or something like that. Get like 4 characters in there. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I think that'd be cool, and I think people would pony up even more dollars on this expensive game to get access to something like that. From the maps that we did see in game, were there any highlights to you? Any maps that stand out that you're excited to race?
Just give me something that's like Moo Moo Meadows all over again, because that's one of my favorite
Meadows
classic.
is back. It looks like.
Yeah, it's back for sure. I knew the cow was back as a character.
Yeah, they talked about how the maps, like some of those OG ones, are back, but of course they have to contextualize them within the realm of the greater world.
Right.
So they're in there, and they're like, you definitely see Moo Moo Meadows in there. Maybe not in this direct, but in like the previous trailer we saw that. So I think that's definitely in there, which is a classic from 64. Boo Cinema I think looks really fun. It's like a creepy Boo haunted level mixed with a cinema. So you're like going through, you're like driving into a huge movie screen, but then it just like fades away. That looked really fun. Wario's shipyard. Like it feels like there might just be like a creepy area of the map where there's a bunch of creepy ass horror levels, and like I feel like that's gonna be my jam because I always love the Luigi's Mansion level, the Bowser levels. So very excited for those. Yeah, I mentioned the old maps kind of getting contextualized. I mean, because of this world element, like there's full day-night cycle in this game, so every map will have a little bit more variety in that way because of that. Like you'll just have, I don't know how that's going to work for Grand Prix. If it's always the same, it's probably just random, but I think that'll be cool to get a little day-night mixture for each of these.
Absolutely.
It seems like you no longer pick the wheels for your car, you just pick your, and you don't, I don't think you pick the parasol or the umbrella thing. I think you just pick your car now. So I think they've simplified that a bit.
Okay, so it's not as heavily like customizable then with different stats.
I think maybe it's just more customizable because you have more characters, and like I don't know if like Mario has stats, but then like Cowboy Mario has different stats, and then Sushi Chef Mario has different stats. I don't know if that's how they would do it. Like maybe you get a little customization there of like certain ones are quicker or slower or something. So yeah, I'm not too sure how that works. New items, there's actually a lot of them. There's a coin shell, which you throw out. It looks like a bit of a red shell. It follows the path, but it drops coins behind it. I'm guessing coins increase your max speed and maybe are used to buy unlocks or something. Not too sure. Ice flower, that's a great addition. Hammer, like the Hammer Bro hammers, I think that's going to be really fun.
That's cool.
That's the one I'm really excited for as well. The Mega Mushroom, which you turn into a giant for a bit. I'm pretty sure that was in the Mario Kart Wii. So I think that's a callback one, but I could be wrong about that. Either way, it looks cool. The feather, as I mentioned earlier, which is like just gives you a vertical boost, which seems like it's mostly used to either dodge things on the ground, like a shell coming for you, or used to access shortcuts. And then the other one is Kamek. Kamek will like come in here and use magic spell, which seems like it has like a bit of a random effect. So I'm guessing that means that Kamek's not a racer anymore, which he was in Deluxe, right? So that's sad if you're a Kamek diehard fan.
Yeah.
But you have every other character under the sun, so I'm sure that's fine. So that's like a lot of new items. I feel like every Mario Kart has like one or two new items, but this one has like 6 or 7. So I feel like they went above and beyond with the new items.
Yeah. Love it.
What else? We talked about the free roam a bit. There's the knockout tour mode, which nothing really new in the direct about that, but that looks like a cool mode, little battle royale element. Up to 24 racers, that's huge, and because of that you can have up to like 4 teams if you're doing like team races, which is cool. Not that I know 23 people who are going to have this game, and I can never take advantage of that really, but it's cool nonetheless. I think that's pretty much it. A lot of people were pretty disappointed with the direct, which I'm kind of confused by. Like, I feel like it showed off a lot of cool things, a lot of great footage, got me even more hyped for the game. Confirmed that definitely getting the Mario Kart bundle for the Switch. I definitely want this game. So yeah, easy day one purchase for a lot of people. I think a lot of people will go for that bundle. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, very much looking forward to this game.
Yeah, I think the bundle. I think there's a lot of parents are thinking, okay, we just want the console, that's it, and they're not going to be quickly doing the math and like, oh, I should have got the bundle because you're saving money technically instead of paying like $90 or $100 or whatever it is for
Switch you save like games. $30-$40 by getting the bundle essentially.
Yeah, but I mean, this is Mario Kart is such a staple, and any Nintendo console I have got to have Mario Kart and got to have a Mario Party. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Are you gonna get the Jamboree update, Jamboree TV?
Oh, that was like a whole bunch of new mini games in the Mario Party,
right?
That were motion
like a lot of it.
Or...
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I guess I think that a lot of them with like the mouse control, adding that, but it's also like incorporating like the camera, which I'm guessing you're not getting the webcam camera thing.
I don't have any need for it, no.
Yeah. So yeah, it seems like you're kind of paying for mostly that camera stuff and then like a couple new mini games. So
yeah,
I don't know if you need to shell out $20 for that.
No, I can't justify that. If it was like $4.99, sure, but if it's around $20 or more, it's not worth it.
That finally came out, and I think they because I think when you look at like PlayStation and stuff, like for most of their games that they've had the upgrade, like PS5 upgrade for, it's pretty much always like $10 across the board, I think. But it seems like Nintendo's taking more of a variable approach where they're basing it on how much work I guess they put into it. Where it seems like some of them, like I read that Kirby is like $20. I think that's US too, so it might be 25 Canadian. Like I wanted to play that and I love that game, but I'm not shelling out $25 for like one new level or something. So I don't know. We'll see what they do there, but yeah, it seems like they're going to be keeping the prices variable and all that. Any other thoughts about Mario Kart or any Switch 2 stuff that was hot on your mind here?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for joining me. This was a fun little dual Mario Kart Oblivion episode, which is always a good set of topics to have. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll see you again next week. Bye.